Hello, Watem here, and welcome back to small Umineko When Seagulls Cry. Let's continue with the sound of waves flowing into my ears. No, it's the sound of an enraged sea. My body, bathed in painfully cold splashes, does not allow me to forget. It won't let me forget the memories of the day my old plate was broken and smashed. Once, tomorrows were literally like looking into a mirror. All I ever saw there was the person I already was. Tomorrow was absolutely no different from today. That was my old fate. But then, for the first time, I saw a different fate beyond the mirror. The witch whispers to me. She tempts me to take a bite off of the fruit of knowledge. She torments me, saying I'll be furniture as long as I stay in God's paradise. So I decided to choose the path of knowing well, and try to become a person. Those days were like sweet honey, but at the time, I didn't realize that they'd be the start of a new kind of suffering. I've arrived at a small island on a motorboat I've only just learned how to use. No, this can hardly be called a small island. It's little more than a rock jutting out of the water. On this rock is a torii and a small shrine. It was probably built to worship the garden deity of Rokkenjima. Even though I don't know exactly what it signifies, I know that it has to be something holy. Even in a place like this, I've got to take just one more look around to see if there's anyone who might get mad at me for coming. I see nothing but the stormy ocean, Nijima looming in the distance, and the waves breaking against Rokkenjima's steep cliffside. I ready myself, timidly approach the small shrine, and take the mirror that lies there as an offering. Is this the same mirror that she says she... Oh, I'm assuming that this is Shannon. That she says is the same as the past, or is this like a special mirror? The mirror looks old, cloudy and dirty. That would probably make any normal mirror seem horribly cheap. However, since the mirror has been placed in this small shrine, its appearance seems to give off some sort of divine quality to it. And there's one thing I can tell. This is no simple mirror. It may seem like an old battered mirror to a non-believer like myself, but it has a great significance. Is it really okay to break this after being captivated by honeyed words? So mirrors, three things come to my mind immediately. One, well, most obvious, I think. It's seen as like a portal to another realm, since it is, since it shows a what's it called? I've forgotten the technical word, but it's a false image. It's not the true location that you see, and so it gives an otherworldliness to it. Two, so one idea is your image is captured within the mirror, and so that can be like like in magic stuff. I'm getting this from Fate. What's it called? I'm pretty sure it's used in case files of Elmulo II. But basically, by capturing someone in the mirror, they prevent them from like moving and escaping. So one common way is, in Fake Tales, is to break the mirror, which is one of the reasons why it's seen as bad luck. There's other reasons as well, but in any case, the third one, vampires not appearing in mirrors. That's because mirrors this wasn't always the case, but it came from more modern mirrors, which were silver-backed, and silver was seen as holy because of tarnishing in the presence of which poison was it? In any case, tarnishes in that it was seen as holy for that reason, and so because it's seen as holy, that's why vampires don't appear in reflections. For stories which actually pay a lot of attention to details, then would have them appear in reflections of non-silverback mirrors or other things that reflect images. It's just very specifically silver that doesn't reflect them. This has gone on for a bit long, so let's see what the purpose of this mirror actually is. No, this isn't really a mirror. This is the life I couldn't escape until today, my fate. Okay, so I think this is... I think this is leaning more towards this... Yeah, the second one I said. With a slight tinge of the first one. I'll break it. I'll smash it and seize the life that lies beyond this mirror. Okay, if I don't smash it, my life will be a pair of facing mirrors forever. Nothing will ever change in the slightest. The witch whispers to me. She tempts me to take a bite of the fruit of knowledge. Or maybe I've already tasted that fruit. After all, I've already experienced those maddening emotions. Just as Adam and Eve felt compelled to pluck their fig leaves, I can no longer go on without breaking this mirror. I've struggled with conflicting emotions for many days before this moment. Inside my heart, the virtuous part of me kept on fighting the part that sides of the witch. And now, here I am. Did the part of me that's here right now win or lose? So, how much does someone want to bet that she's actually trapping a part of herself inside this mirror by breaking it? That's the only thing I know. To obtain something, you must be ready to lose something. Cowards who don't risk anything, never try to change anything, will never be given the key that opens the path to a new future. That key is already in my hands. And that key is to break this, to smash it. Is there any other effort I can make? As furniture imprisoned in Rokkenjima? No. This is the only way for me. Come, have courage. I'll free myself from being mere furniture. And by accepting a new kind of suffering, I'll become human. This is surely a small, yet large trial I must impose on myself. Now, break it. I'll smash to pieces the eternally unchanging fate that imprisons me. I raise the mirror high. I think back on the days of conflict that came before. And, finishing my reflections in the blink of an eye, I throw it down. The thunder roars, crying out against me for my outrageous act. Truly is the hatred of angels trying to banish me from eternal paradise. Beatrice has been personified, or from what we've seen multiple times now, as thunder or lightning. So, what does this altar and the mirror have to do with Beatrice? That's what I'm guessing. I look down at the mirror tumbling at my feet, broken in 2 equal parts. Now that seems unlikely. And after making sure I've accomplished my task, I scream up at the raging skies.
Yeah. 約束は守りました。今度はあなたが約束を守ってくれる番ですよね。
The thunder roars once more. I've already been banished from paradise, so I have to struggle on my own if I want to live. The witch told me that is the single element of this world. To lose it means losing the world. Like how a canteen with a hole in the bottom can't be filled, no matter how much water you pump into it.
約束は守りました。今度はあなたが約束を守る番です。私の願いをどうか叶えてください。ベアトリーチェ様。
Ah, okay. Okay, so with what I'd said earlier, I think it was the second one where I said images getting trapped in the mirror. One of the ways which you get trapped is by breaking the mirror, and so you shatter the image, but the image that was there in Fairy Tail would remain there, but now that it's broken, it's no longer visible to the outside, so it's trapped. The other possibility, which I think this might be, that's an interesting costume. And there's people there that I don't recognize, possibly from the anime, I guess, or maybe in feature episodes. Ooh, we saw that one. Where was I? Yes. So the other one where the image is captured within the mirror and that traps you. The way to break free would be to break the mirror in that case, which might be what this is. There's that one chessboard again. Furniture. My mind wandered back to the days when I could barely imagine the happiness I have now. I was a middle schooler at the time. A normal girl who thought about love as much as you'd expect of someone of that age. But in truth, it was wrong of me to have that dream. After all, I'm furniture. Pretty sure this is Shannon, unless it's a new character. Furniture is nothing more than a tool, not a human. As a person less than human, simply receiving an education was an enormous blessing. So in reality, even thinking about falling in love was more than I deserved. 99% sure this is Shannon though. The Ushuramiya Family Conference was a customary event held every October, but relatives sometimes visited at other times. Of course, they didn't come just to drink tea. On this day, Eva's family was visiting the head family on Rokkenjima. The 3 members of Krause's family and the 3 members of Eva's family had gathered in the parlor. They were having a friendly chat about recent events. Genji had supposedly told Kenzo of Eva's family's arrival, but he still hadn't come down. He was probably immersed in his research and couldn't spare the time. This often happened, so the others waited patiently for their fickle father to arrive.
ほう、それは頼もしいじゃないか。お父さんのところでたくさん勉強して、早く手助けができるよう頑張りたまえ。
So I'm also wondering, first thing, how far before the events of the first episode are we?
ありがとうございます。今は父の紹介でたくさんの人生の先輩方に本当に貴重な勉強をさせていただいています。そのいずれも学校では学べないことばかりです。
学校で習うのは国語算数やない。ものを学ぶ姿勢と態度を学ぶんや。
Math in particular, it's a lot of about critical thinking skills.
その基礎ができて、ようやく生涯をかけた勉強が始まるんやで。
Of course, it was also teaching you about math. Another practical skills are nice as well if they teach stuff like filing taxes.
ここをな、勘違いしとるやつは生涯学べん石頭や。
And yeah, actually, that's another thing. It teaches you how to learn. Well, they should teach you how to learn. So yeah, that's more important than what you learn. It's learning how to learn efficiently, because then you can just learn things later on in life and apply them as needed.
国語算数で満点取れても会社じゃ役に立たへん。
全くその通りだよ。秀吉さんの教育方針はいつも本当にご立派ですな。
ジョージもまだまだ半人前や。それを常に忘れんで勉強に励むんやで。
よしなさいよ、あなた。
And yeah, in particular, learn while your brain is good at learning.
ジョージはいっつも一生懸命頑張ってるわよ。ねえ。
本当に立派ね。うちのジェシカにも爪の赤を分けてもらいたいわ。
チェまだテストの結果を根に持ってるのかよ。
Yes, talking about someone with a third person right in front of them.
受験勉強は私なりにやってるって。こんな席でまで言うことはねえだろうよ。うせえぜ。
Once people started praising George for his diligence, the conversation usually turned to Jessica, who hated studying. Jessica made an openly displeased face, and so she'd known this would happen.
やれやれ。ジェシカは勉強と一緒に少しはおしとやかな言葉遣いも学ぶ必要があるんじゃないかね。後ろ宮家の家紋を背負う一人娘がそれではみっともないな。
あら、これはこれで魅力的よねえ。時代は変わるのよ。男に食わしてもらうために定宿を装わなくてはならなかった時代はとっくに終わってるんだから。
そうそう。
She's found her ally there.
やっぱエヴァおばさんは分かってますね。
今日は頭痛が特にこたえます。
大丈夫ですか？夏日おばさん、顔色が優れないみたいです。
ありがとう。大丈夫です。でも本当に月日が経つのは早いものね。半ズボン姿で浜辺を駆け巡ってずぶ濡れになって帰ってきた日がついこの間のように思います。
それはジェシカちゃんも同じよね。今じゃお化粧の仕方にだってこだわるレディーなんだから。眉にこだわりがあるのね。今日のあなたとってもキュートよ。
ありがとうございます。誰も気づいてくれなかったんで自信なくしてたとこです。
Those two get along quite well. A full smile rose to Jessica's face as the results of her own studies were finally appreciated. It's interesting to see like this side of Eva. We saw a bit of it, I think. I feel in the previous episode, right before Eva died, but normally we've just seen very confrontative and competitive Eva. Eva smiled back in the same way. I mean, maybe there was a bit at the start of the first episode, but I don't remember that too much. Then she turned that smile towards Natsuhi.
ダメよ、夏日姉さん。
I mostly remember how her very biting remarks.
自分のこの小さな変化にも気づかなくちゃ。かわいそうなジェシカちゃん。一番最初にお母さんに気づいてもらいたかったでしょうに。ねえ。
いいんですいいんです。あの人そういうの全然気づかない人なんで。
ジェシカ、母親をあの人呼ばわりとは感心できんね。
Is this where she picks out her tongue?
謝りなさい。
言葉遣いについては後でよく言って聞かせます。
チェ、お子様は邪魔だってんならそう言ってくれよ。私は席を外させてもらうぜ。ここは空気がよどんでるぜ。
ジェシカ。
Jessica was still at the age where tests and entrance exams are pretty nerve-wracking. Recently, she clashed often with her mother, who was enthusiastic about her education.
失礼いたします。
Huh? Oh, Jessica, who was trying to leave the parlor in a bad mood, bumped into Shannon, who was pushing a serving cart filled with tea.
ああ、シャノン。私の分のお茶はいらないぜ。私は庭でもほっつき歩いてくる。
お嬢様？
シャノン、お茶が冷めます。配膳を急ぎなさい。
失礼しました。
Shannon hadn't actually done anything wrong. Yeah, I mean, the amount of time waiting at the door compared to the amount of time you've spent taking it from the kitchen is insignificant. But Natsuhi, who felt like something shameful to herself had been shown, lashed out at her emotionally. This was something that often happened in the Yoshoromiya family. But it seemed Shannon wasn't strong-willed enough to just accept it and move on. He shrank back and cowered while serving the tea. She had the unfortunate habit of making more mistakes when she cowered. Her pitiful appearance ruined the peaceful atmosphere that had existed a moment before. It wasn't really Shannon's fault, but she thought she might be the source and felt a pressure in her chest. Her shaking fingers made the utensils clang, and you couldn't have called it graceful, not even just to be polite. The more pitiful she appeared, the greater the silence grew. The more irritated Natsui looked, and the more Shannon cowered. Shannon's thin neck looked like it was being suffocated and choked by the reaper known as stress. At that time, George spoke brightly, blowing away the stiff atmosphere.
これはいい香りだね。何の紅茶かな？
これは。
言わないで。当てるから。これは特徴的な匂いだから多分わかるよ。
I get the feeling he's realized that she might know, but too stressed to think about it on the spot, maybe.
アールグレイかな？
多分そうだと思います。
多分アールグレイで合ってるよ。台所に戻ったら紅茶の缶を見てごらん。
ほう、ジョージ君は紅茶に詳しいのかね？
お世話になっている社長さんに紅茶の詳しい人がいまして講釈を聞いているうちに少しだけわかるようになりました。
ああ、おこのぎ食品の社長さんかい。
I feel like the name Okunogi is familiar. Isn't that like the name of a character in Higurashi?
あの人、そういううんちくは得意やな。
紅茶の名前って産地を示すことが多いんでしょ？じゃあこれはアールグレイという土地で栽培されたのが由来なのかしらね。
昔イギリスにグレイ伯爵という人がいたそうで、その人にちなんでつけた名前だそうだよ。
If I had to guess, I'd say he was no.
ちなみにこの特徴的な匂いは茶葉のものではなくて、ベルガモットというみかんの親戚にあたる果物でつけたものなんだって。
そうなの。初めて知りました。そういう知識を持っていると紅茶もより美味しくいただけますね。
酒もタバコも同じや。嗜好品はロマンをたしなむもんやで。こういううんちくが味わいを深めるんや。
薬の能書きと同じよね。夏日姉さんも愛用してる頭痛薬の説明書、今度はじっくり読んでから飲んでみなさいよ。
Ah, yes. Nothing quite as sexy as medicine.
それはいい。今夜試してみなさい。
ええ、試してみます。
シャノンちゃん、そのポットを開けてごらん。茶葉の中にベルガモットを乾燥させたものが混じっているのを見つけられるはずだよ。
はい。入っています。オレンジの皮を乾燥させたようなものが混じっています。
多分これがベルガモットだね。 アールグレイの香りの主成分だよ。匂いは鮮烈だから味がきつそうな印象があるけど、素直で飲みやすい味なんだよ。
I'm going to be looking for that next time.
ミルクティーにすると香りもまろやかになって素敵かもしれないね。みんなに注いでポットに余った分があったら、ぜひミルクティーにして飲んでみるといいよ。
はい。ありがとうございます。
George gave her a small wink. Shannon finally realized that George had kind-heartedly swept aside the tense atmosphere in the room. And he had done it for the sake of Shannon herself, a cowering servant. The Ushiramiya family did not pamper their servants. Any display of awkwardness would be harshly punished. So it was rare of them to be given a helping hand like this. Thanks to George's kindness, Shannon managed to regain control of herself and finish serving the tea without further incident. As long as she stayed calm, she could carry out her work elegantly and flawlessly. By the time that the black tea was laid out on the table, and its elegant scent filled the room, the atmosphere had completely returned to its former peaceful mood, and everyone praised George's knowledge. Shannon wanted to thank him for saving her, but it didn't look like she would get the chance. So she decided to at least thank him inside her heart, praying to God that George would hear it as she put the serving cart away. And she can probably thank him later too.
ジョージ兄さんは昔からそういう時には助け舟を出してくれるんだよ。話題をさらりと変えてくれるというかさ。
Shannon and Jessica were in the rose garden. Jessica still hadn't returned to the parlour after getting into a fight with her mother, and was nonchalantly killing time here.
思い返せば、こういう助けられ方をしたのは今回が初めてじゃない気がします。
Whenever I made a careless mistake and George was around, I'm pretty sure he'd always naturally smooth things over and restore harmony. Maybe it wasn't something as direct as picking up a fork that had been dropped, but that was his way of caring. Even servants have their pride. They want to fix their own mistakes by themselves. And if a guest lends them a hand, they'll lose face.
そういう空気を読むのが得意なんだろうぜ。ま、ジョージ兄さんの美学なんだろうよ。あの人、妙に気ざったらしいところあるからな。
そんなことありません。とっても素敵な方だと思います。
Jessica looks really mean with that. Something about the smile. And okay, it's definitely the eyebrows too.
ひょっとしてシャノン、ジョージ兄さんに惚れた？
For once, Shannon had disagreed with Jessica in a slightly forceful tone, which immediately caught Jessica's attention.
いえ、そういうことはないかと。
そういや、ジョージ兄さんってあまり浮いた話を聞いたことないし。あれ？確か家庭的な子がタイプだとか前に聞いたかな。そりゃいいぜ、シャノンぴったりじゃん。
私がですか？そんな、私にはそんな資格ありませんし。
資格はあるぜ。何年も昔から顔を合わせてて、半ば幼馴染状態。互いに男女であることを意識しないナチュラルな関係ってのは、一度意識し始めるとトントン拍子らしいぜ。
Jessica loved teen magazines with this kind of story, and she was always getting excited talking about that kind of thing with her friends. She was very quick to pick up on love stories like this. So this wasn't the first time Shannon had been exposed to this kind of story. But this was certainly the first time she'd started thinking of George as a member of the opposite sex. She was furniture, while George was an honoured guest and a member of the Ushiramiya family. Okay, so this is probably a couple of years beforehand, at least. Until now, she'd assumed that even imagining any deeper relationship with him would be impermissible. So she hadn't thought of it. Since it was someone else's problem, Jessica poked fun at it, seeming to enjoy herself. It was all Shannon could do to hide her blushing cheeks. George were to appear at a time like that, she'd have no chance of keeping her cool. And... oh. They saw George come out from the entrance hall of the mansion. It looked like he'd seen them as well. He headed over, waving his hand. Shannon had to frantically try and regain her ordinary composure before George reached them.
おじいさまがやっと降りてきたよ。あとは大人たちの話になるからって追い出されてね。
そりゃ抜け出して正解だよ。じいさまの顔を拝むくらいなら疫病神にキスした方がマシだぜ。
そんな言い方は悪いよ。ただおじいさまは僕らのことを疫病神だと思っているかもしれないね。何しろ事業用にお金を借りたいという話でやってきたんだから。
That's right. This wasn't the customary annual October family conference. Eva's family had visited to apply for a business loan from the head family. Kinzo had vast resources, and he lent those out to his children. Of course, they didn't borrow money because they were living in poverty. How would they expand their business with the vast sums they wanted to borrow? How much interest would be attached, and how long would they have to repay it? This wasn't the sort of loan designed for the poor. It was a loan for those who were on the offensive. Kinzo strictly judged whether it would be worth lending out his fortune, and afterwards he strictly oversaw its use. So Rokkanjima would sometimes play host to this spectacle, where relatives visited and described their businesses to Kinzo. To the parents, these meetings burdened them with the strain of having to move a vast amount of money. But to Jessica, who lived on this isolated island called Rokkanjima, it was a precious opportunity to meet up with her cousins. So being able to talk with the occasional guests such as George like this immediately cured the bad mood she'd gotten from that fight with her mother.
うちも全くケチくせえぜ。金なんて余ってるんだろうから気前よく貸してやりゃいいのによ。うちの親父もじいさまもどうせねちっこくもったいぶってんだろうぜ。
お金を貸すとき慎重になるのは当然のことだよ。もちろんうちの父さんも借り入れた分で事業を拡大し、しっかり返却できるプランを持って訪れてる。あとはプレゼンテーション次第ってところだろうね。本当は脇で見させてもらって勉強したいんだけど、母さんに追い出されちゃったんだよ。ちょっと残念かな。
親方様はクラウス様やエヴァ様のことを今でも子供の頃と全く変わらないように叱られるようです。
So they probably want to save face, I'm guessing. That's kind of cute in a way. In any case, I hope you all enjoyed. Let me know any feedback you have in the comments. And until next time, see ya. Continue on with episode 2.